Save the date. The Nats Chat end-of-year podcast party will be Friday night, October 10th at Walters. Start time is TBD.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Cruz way over to right center. They're giving Sosa the right field corner. The pitch. Fly ball deep left field. Wood going back to the warning track. He's out of room and it's gone. It's a 3-run homer and a 5-0 Phillies lead. Sosa with number 7, and for the second time in as many starts against the Phillies, they have put up a 5-run inning against Mitchell Parker.
1 to Garcia. Started him off with a slider. See what Strom throws now. Pitch swung on. Line to right toward the corner. Trouble if it's fair, and it is. One up off the wall. Wood around third. He'll score. Garcia heading for second and coasting in with his 3rd hit of the game. And it's now the Phillies 6 and the Nationals 4. Nationals within 2 and bring the tying run to the plate in Dalen Lyle. The pause. A long one, the kick, and here's the pitch. Swinging a fly ball left field. Marsh right there waiting and makes the catch. And Duran and the Phillies hold on for the victory to even this series at a win apiece.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MassonSports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The Nationals on Saturday evening were not far from yet another 9th-inning comeback win at the National League East leading Philadelphia Phillies, down 6-4 in the top of the 9th. The Nats got a one-out double by Brady House, followed by a one-out single by Robert Hassel III. Runners at the corners, 1 out. The Nats again had the Phillies closer, Jhoan Duran, on the ropes, and James Wood and CJ Abrams were coming up. But Wood struck out, Abrams lined out, and that was the game. A 6-4 loss at the Phillies. In game 2 of a 3-game series, the Nats' 3-game winning streak is over. They fall to 53 and 76 in MLB's 2025 regular season. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. Nats starting pitcher Mitchell Parker on Saturday evening began his outing with 3 scoreless and hitless innings, but he in the bottom of the 4th allowed 5 runs. The Nats bullpen, again, was good. The Nats had 2 homers and 3 doubles, but also went just 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position and struck out 12 times. And I tell you, Mark, the Nats have had success against Jhoan Duran. Put another scare into him on Saturday evening, but ultimately did not come through.
So here's the thing, Al. The timing of their schedule, not just facing the Phillies here back-to-back weeks, but having just faced the Twins right before the trade deadline, they've actually now faced Duran 6 times in the last 4 weeks. It's 6 of his last 12 appearances have come against the Nationals. And that doesn't diminish how good he is, but any pitcher you see that much in a short amount of time, you are going to pick up on some things and maybe have just a little bit of an advantage, a little better of an idea how to approach him. And I do think at this point, they know what you have to do. Now, it's still not easy because he's throwing absolute heat up there. But I think they've come to understand, shorten up on the swing, just try to make contact, hit the ball the other way. All of these hits they've had off him have been these little line drives to the opposite field that have gotten in fair territory and turned into some doubles and a single as well. It's actually not a bad approach, and it's a nice job on their part to figure out how would we potentially beat one of the best relievers in baseball. And so they're hitting as a team 381 against Duran this year. The rest of the league is hitting 199 against him. So they have actually had some success. And as crazy as it sounds, I think there was a feeling in that dugout when the 9th inning came around this time that they were right where they wanted to be, that they had a legit chance to do it to him because they've already shown they can do it against him. And they had seen him so many times here in the last month.
The Nats have done well against him, and it hasn't just been like the best hitters on the Nats doing well against him. A variety of Nats players have had success against him. I'm really interested to see how he does for the Phillies this coming postseason, because if you told me that he has a dominant run this October, I could believe that. And if you told me that he gets got and that he gets shellacked this coming postseason, I could see that too. You know, it's a funny deal with these quote-unquote invincible closers. They're invincible until they're not. And once they get exposed, they can really fall off. We've seen that with a variety of these guys over the years. And I wonder if we are going to see that with Duran as this season goes on. And if we do, we can say it started in many ways with the Nats. They perhaps have provided a game plan to the rest of MLB for how to approach this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. It just requires discipline and sticking to what's going to work. And you have to understand you're not going to beat him with one swing. It's going to have to be multiple swings, creating a rally, building up the pitch count, and just get the bat on the ball and give yourself a chance. And, you know, what you were just mentioning, I was thinking of Emmanuel Clase last year, a brilliant regular season for Cleveland. And he got to October and it was a nightmare for him. Now he's had all kinds of other issues since then, but at the time it felt like this was the guy who was going to maybe take that franchise all the way to the World Series, and he became a liability in the end. So it does happen even with those closers that you would think are invincible, and it will be very interesting to see Duran. I can only imagine what the Philly faithful, I mean, they were booing at one point in the ninth inning. I don't know if it was directed at him or who it was at. They maybe just felt like booing in general because they hadn't had a lot of reason to all night. If he gets himself into real trouble in October in this town, yikes, look out.
It was an odd game for the Nats offensively. 4 runs, 9 hits, which were 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 4 singles. All of that is pretty good, but the Nats worked just 1 walk, went just 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 12 times. So really a mixed game for the team offensively. Luis Garcia Jr. had a good game. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 4 batter, went 3 for 4 with a solo homer, a double, and a single. The Nats in a 2-run 6 hit 2 solo homers. Garcia had one of them. His was a 1-out solo homer to center field to cut the Nats deficit to 6-3. The homer went a projected 422 feet per StatCast. CJ Abrams had the other homer in that inning. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 1 for 5 with a solo homer. He in that 2-run 6 had a leadoff homer to right field on an 0-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 6-2. I mentioned the Brady House double in the 9th inning. James Wood had a double in this game. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter, 2 for 5 with a double and a single. He also registered an outfield assist. We'll get to that, but he also did get caught stealing in an attempted steal of second base, and he struck out 3 more times. And, you know, this is becoming, I don't know if problem is the right word, but man, the strikeouts are just not going away, and he's striking out in some big spots. He leads the majors by a decent amount in strikeouts. This is something that he's got to work on. You know, I think we all understand in modern MLB, it's okay to strike out. It's not the taboo thing that it was years ago, but you don't want to be leading the majors in strikeouts. And he's doing that right now.
He is. And I think really what the difference has been, because he's always been kind of a high strikeout guy, and you can live with that, especially because he draws so many walks. But I think what you've seen really since the All-Star break, and he's done a good job to get out of the slump in terms of the quality of contact that he's making still and hitting the ball hard again. But what he's not doing is drawing walks to the extent that he was before. And I think that's leading to a lot of the strikeouts. He's fishing for a lot of pitches out of the zone, especially down. He's also taking a lot of strikes. And I do feel like, and there were a few of them in this game where there are pitches that are off the plate and he's getting rung up. I don't know if it's more than other hitters. It feels like he does get rung up more than others on pitches that probably aren't actually strikes. But he is such a patient hitter that his inclination is to take those. I do feel like there are certain situations where it's almost like he's looking for the walk. And, you get the 2 strikes, you do have to expand the zone a little bit. I don't know that's in his nature, and you don't want to ruin things, but it feels like some of those strikeouts are a result of that, him getting to 2 strikes. And rather than just expanding a little bit on a pitch that looks close, he's taking it, and he's getting rung up a good amount of times on those pitches.
The record for most strikeouts in a regular season in terms of batters, Mark Reynolds, 223 in 2009. James Wood is at 171. He's threatening that record. Like, people need to understand this. It's not just that he has the most strikeouts in the majors. He is threatening the major league record for strikeouts in a regular season. Again, we can take strikeouts, especially if you're putting up, big time offensive numbers as he was doing and as he still is doing for the most part this season. The overall season numbers still are good. But man, the strikeout number is getting alarmingly high. That's got to calm down.
200 is not a number you want to see as a hitter. I think that's where I kind of draw the line. If you keep it under 200, I think in today's game, you can live with that. I remember when Adam Dunn got there, and that was seen as this like horrific number for a hitter to get to. And now, as you pointed out, the Reynolds number is even higher than that. I don't know if he can keep it under that. That's about only 29 more strikeouts to go to get there. And there are still 33 games to go this year. So that's going to be fewer than one strikeout per game if he plays every day. That's going to be tricky. If you can, James, try to shoot for that. Keep it under 200. If not, try to at least start drawing some more walks. Try to keep up the better contact. And maybe in the end, we'll overlook what the strikeout total is because the production total will be high enough to kind of gloss over that.
Yeah, he's 29 strikeouts from 200. He's 52 strikeouts from that Mark Reynolds record. That may be something we have to be watching come September. I hope not, but that is something that is in play. I mentioned Luis Garcia Jr., very good game for him on Saturday evening. And as you wrote on massinsports.com, Garcia, the latest Nat, who's giving us some intrigue here via getting a look-see at first base. Now, the last time we had this conversation about Keibert Ruiz, it turned out to be a whole lot of nothing. So before we go crazy with this, I'll ask you, is this a something or is this a nothing?
I think this could be a something as opposed to absolutely nothing, which it appears was the case with Ruiz. I mean, look, at this point, if you haven't taken grounders at first base, what are you even doing on this team? It's just kind of become a rite of passage. I think for everyone who plays other positions, might as well do it. So it's a combination of the state of the position as it stands right now with Josh Bell, Andres Chaparro playing that. But I think it is also an acknowledgement in Garcia's case of just how bad the defense has been at second base. He made big strides last year defensively, and he has lost it all this year. The metrics are awful. He rates as one of, if not the worst defensive second baseman in baseball. And we don't know, as we've discussed so much, who's calling the shots next year. But I think there's at least some thought to, can this team move forward with Luis Garcia as the primary second baseman, or do they need to be better up the middle? And if they do feel like they need to be better up the middle, what do you do with him? Well, he is a natural infielder. Range, not as much of an issue at first base as it would be at second. He's not bad at scooping up throws, and that would be the hope, is that skill set of his is a little better, and you don't have to cover as much ground at first base. So they're working with him on it right now. Will it happen before the end of the season? Will we actually see him in a game? Maybe. I'm going to say probably not, but maybe. But I think it is something that they want to at least put in the back of their minds as they approach the offseason and try to figure out a lot of things that they need to figure out. And I give Louis credit. He said himself, whatever the team needs me to do, I'm happy to do it. And I think that's some maturity from a guy who's still only 25, by the way, but he's in his sixth big league season, or at least parts of 6 seasons. He already moved from shortstop to second base. I think deep down, he probably understands, if I want to stick at this level and stick with this team, I might have to prove that I can do some other things, because defensively, it just has not been good enough at second base.
No, I mean, the only thing, if you really want to put a positive spin on things, is he was pretty good defensively last season at second base. And so maybe this is just a bad defensive season and he can bounce back next season. But this season has been so bad defensively that you're almost scared to try him again at second base beyond this season, because the defense just has fallen off so precipitously. The obvious concern with him at first base is that, his bat is not good enough to play first base. He's an okay hitter. He has not been nearly consistent enough and nearly good enough to where you feel great about him as a hitter. Him as a second baseman, okay. Him as a first baseman, the offense is really lacking. And so I wonder if maybe what you're looking at is a guy who moving forward is best suited as a utility man, and not an everyday player. And he's a guy who can come off the bench and play second base, can play first base, can maybe play shortstop in a pinch. Maybe that's what we're looking at with Luis Garcia Jr.
And that may be what they're thinking in the very long term with him. But as you said, there's only so much you can do to completely overhaul a roster in one off season. He is under club control, so you would think he's a part of this one way or another. But I do agree with you. My biggest concern is that I don't think he's a good enough hitter to play first base. If you're going to be a weak hitting first baseman or not a true power hitting first baseman, you better make up for that with Gold Glove caliber defense. I don't know that he's going to be that guy either. He's not going to be Dom Smith at first base. So I don't know that this really works out in the end for him, but it does look like it's something they're at least exploring as they try to sort out a lot of things heading into the offseason.
Hey Nats fans, you know me as Tim Newmark, the guy who wrote the Nats Chat theme song. You may not know that 2025 is the 10th anniversary of the release of my personal favorite album, Galaxy. Check it out on your favorite streaming platforms today.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. The voices you trust, the stories you won't find anywhere else.
This is the story breaking right now.
Fox One, we live for live.
Try it free for 7 days. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox One for complete terms and conditions.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now Parker rocks, kicks, and he fires. Swing and a long drive deep down the left field line for Turner. Wood going back, way back, going, gone, goodbye. A home run right down the left field line, inside the pole and fair. Trey Turner with his 14th home run of the year and his 61st run batted in. Major League leading 159th hit of the year. And it's now the Phillies 6 and the Nationals 1.
Well, the Nats starting pitcher in this 6-4 loss at the Phillies on Saturday evening was Mitchell Parker. He has been in quite the rut, as we have discussed. He got off to a good start regarding his start. He tossed 3 scoreless and hitless innings. If you're watching this game in real time, you're saying, okay, here we go. This is nice. This is encouraging. And then came a blow-up inning, and Parker ultimately allowed 6 runs in 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 2 singles. He issued a walk, recorded 3 strikeouts, did throw a lot of strikes, 103 pitches, 68 strikes, 35 balls. But he, in the bottom of the 4th, allowed 5 runs on a home run, 2 doubles, and 2 singles. The homer was a 2-out, 3-run homer by the Phillies' number 8 batter, Edmundo Sosa, to left field to put the Phillies up 5-0. And then Parker, in the bottom of the 5th, gave up a leadoff full-count homer by Trey Turner to left field for a 6-1 Phillies lead. And just like that, an outing that was actually looking pretty good for Mitchell Parker ended up unraveling. The big inning, striking again, the home run, hurting him significantly in this game.
We've seen this way too many times. The inning that gets out of control spirals and turns into 5 runs. And it's getting tough to watch, I think, for everyone. There's not a whole lot new to say, except I'll say this. The first 3 innings, his velocity was up. He was throwing 95, about as hard as he's thrown all year, and had some success. And by the time his start was over, that velocity had dropped again, back down to like 93. Is that alone the reason for the struggles? I don't know, but it certainly isn't helping. And I'll tell you what, he's now got the ERA over 6 for the season. It's 6.01. And remember, that's with a great April to start his year. Over his last 21 starts, Parker's ERA is 7.48. 21 starts is a long stretch. And I thought to myself, has anyone in Nationals history approached that kind of number over that long a stretch? And the answer is no. That is the highest ERA by a long shot for any Nationals pitcher over a span of 21 starts. You'll never guess who had the record prior to that. Yes, it is Patrick Corbin from 2022. His worst 21 game stretch was 6.90, which is still god awful. and yet it's a half a run better than what Mitchell Parker has been. I asked Miguel Cairo, kind of couched the question of, is it still helping him to put him out there, try to work it out? Or at what point do you guys have to consider some changes?
I'm going to tell you, we're trying to figure out here who can do the job. We got to figure out who can go there and take a opportunity.
He didn't really give a definitive answer to that, but I thought with what he said, it kind of hinted at what he's getting at here. He said, we're trying to figure out who can do the job. We've got to figure out who can go out there and take an opportunity. The best opportunity is there. I want everybody to take advantage of that. Everyone is being evaluated. So whether it's happening here at the big league level or whether they make a change with him, clearly they are taking all that information they get from Mitchell Parker right now and using that to decide how they want to proceed moving forward.
The reason, of course, that so few Nats pitchers have reached this level of ineptitude is that normally, when you're this bad, you're not allowed to make that many starts. And that's a huge part of the problem. The indictment here is as much of the Nats' organizational starting pitching depth as the indictment is of Parker himself. The ERA 6.01, like you said, that is the second worst ERA among all qualified pitchers in the majors for this regular season. The whip 1.49, that is the worst whip among all qualified pitchers in the majors. I've made the joke about the ERA approaching the strikeouts per 9 innings. The ERA now is much higher than the strikeouts per 9 innings, 6.01 versus 5.81. That is atrocious that his ERA is higher than his strikeouts per 9 innings. By the way, the worst ERA among all qualified pitchers in the majors, Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins, a Nats killer for years, and he is the worst ERA in the sport. That is something.
He has not been the same pitcher. This is a former Cy Young Award winner who's dealt with some pretty serious injuries, and at times he's looked like his old self, but he is nowhere close to it. Not the guy you would expect to be on that list, but I agree with you. I mean, the real issue here is that they don't have alternatives, and this has been a problem for several years now, and it's why that list of the worst long-term stretches that I cited earlier, the names on it are not going to surprise you. It's guys like Mitchell Parker, Patrick Corbin, Eric Fetty, Trevor Williams. What's the thing they all have in common? They've pitched during this run of the rebuild when they just have not had alternatives. And in a couple of the cases, Corbin especially, maybe Williams to some extent, they have contracts that are not so easily get outable. And so they have been continually thrown out there. And every time we thought to ourselves, okay, well, at least they're past that. They're not going to be in that situation anymore. Here they are with a starter with an ERA over 6 that they probably deep down want to move out of the rotation, and yet don't have the ability to do it because they don't have anybody else that they believe at this point is a better alternative.
I really think if you have to choose between having a supreme ace, like an elite level guy, or having starting pitching depth, and of course you want both, but if you have to pick between one, I actually think you're better off with the depth. Like, it's great to have someone who's a top 5, top 10 starting pitcher in the sport, but if you don't have starting pitching depth, especially given the prevalence of pitcher injuries now, you're doomed. Like, you just don't have a chance. And we have seen teams have a great number 1 starting pitcher, and then the rest of the rotation isn't good, and the team doesn't do well. And I really think that needs to be such a focus. And I do think it speaks to, when it comes to spending money, if you're going to spend money on free agent starting pitchers, instead of going for the big fish, it might actually make more sense to get a multitude of guys who you feel like are capable, if not good, and just try to become deeper at this spot, to give yourself a chance to have 6, 7, 8 major league caliber starting pitchers, so that you're no longer in this position to where, when inevitably people get hurt and or struggle, you don't have this thing of, well, we don't have anybody else, and if not him, who? You know, like, that's got to stop being the answer to why guys aren't being demoted here. That's not an acceptable answer. Depth matters so much.
You're absolutely right. I look at it this way. If the goal is to try to reach the postseason, I'm with you. It's about pitching depth, because nobody gets through it with only 5 or 6 or even 7. You need more than that. You have to be able to account for the things that are going to happen along the way. And we've even seen here in this run that they've been on, pretty much every game they win or are very competitive in, it's the 3 guys who are pitching well: Cavalli, Gore, and Lord. Parker and Irvin are not giving them a chance. Those are pretty much the games that they're losing right now. So 3/5 of the rotation is giving them a chance. 2/5 is not. That's not going to cut it. You need more depth than that. Now, I think there's an argument that if you're a team that's good enough that you know you're probably going to the postseason or you're already a contender, then that number one starter is what hopefully helps you win in October. We know that was Mike Rizzo's philosophy with Scherzer, Strasburg, going back to the Diamondbacks days with Schilling and Johnson. And I think there is, evidence and value of what an ace can mean for you in October. But first things first, you got to get there. And I agree, depth gives you a better chance of getting there. You have decent starting pitching, not great starting pitching. You have decent starting pitching. You give yourself a chance to win every single night. 3 out of 5 nights, the Nats are giving themselves a chance. The other 2, they're not.
No, they're not. And of course, the nice thing about the postseason is you only really need 4 starting pitchers because of the way the schedule breaks out. But of course, in order to do well in the postseason, you must make the postseason.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. The voices you trust, the stories you won't find anywhere else.
This is the story breaking right now.
Fox One, we live for live.
Try it free for 7 days. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox One for complete terms and conditions.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now the pitch. Swinging a line drive. Fair down the left field line and goes into the corner. Rounding second, heading for third is Bohm. He's getting the green light. Relay to Abrams. Throw to the plate coming. They may get him. He is out at the plate as Millas puts the tag on the leg of Alec Bohm. And that is a terrific play for the Nationals to end the inning and keep the deficit at 2.
The Nats bullpen in this 6-4 loss at the Phillies on Saturday evening was good again. 2 Nats relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Orlando Rebalta, 2 shutout innings. Connor Pilkington, a scoreless bottom of the 8th, despite issuing a 1-out 4-pitch walk of Alec Bohm and despite giving up a 2-out double by Harrison Bader to left field. So Pilkington does continue to struggle, but he tosses a scoreless 8th inning here, and he tosses the scoreless 8th in large part because of some good Nats defense. So I mentioned that double by Bader. James Wood registering an outfield assist in teaming with shortstop CJ Abrams to throw out Alec Bohm at home to keep the Nats deficit at 6-4. Had the Nats come back to tie or win this game, that defensive moment would have loomed large. That was a tremendous play, really by both Wood and Abrams. Wood made a strong throw to Abrams. Abrams made a great throw home. And the Nats had a big defensive moment in the latter innings of this game.
That's one that off the bat, I'm thinking there's no way they're going to get this guy at the plate. And Wood, while the throw was good, it took him a while to get to the ball. We know that he's not the quickest guy out there and it can look a little lumbering. So he picks up the ball finally. And again, I'm thinking, okay, they're not going to get him. But a pinpoint throw to Abrams, and Abrams' relay was phenomenal in terms of the form on it, the strength on the throw, and he could not have put it more on the money, where Drew Millas just stuck his glove down to catch it, and the slide went right into his glove. It was a thing of beauty. I agree. It had me thinking to myself, that's the kind of defensive play that can spark you to then go and win the game offensively in the next half inning. And if they did somehow pull that off again and do it to Duran a second time, I agree. A big part of it was going to be crediting that defensive gem for getting them going and re-energizing the team again as they went into the 9th inning.
Interesting that we're starting to see interim manager Miguel Cairo use relievers for multiple innings more often. Friday evening, we saw P.J. Poulin with 2 perfect innings. Saturday evening, Orlando Rebalta with 2 scoreless innings. I wonder if that's circumstantial or if Cairo is recognizing that he couldn't keep doing his thing of using, 5 relievers to cover 3 innings. And so he's going to have to push some of these guys to work multiple innings.
Yeah, I think it's circumstantial in what the state of these games was, but it's a reflection of who he's had to use and who's unavailable. And yes, recognizing you can't keep doing that every night. It's been fun. It has worked in a lot of ways. I think I mentioned to you last week when this came up, you can't keep doing that forever. You can't do that over 162 games. It's basically playoff bullpen managing. It works in short spurts, but it's really hard to sustain that over the long run, and you do risk a lot of injuries. So you have seen him probably back off a little bit here and try to preserve some arms. You know, the good news is you go into Sunday's game, and while it's going to be a challenge with Jake Irvin on the mound, you do have pretty much all the relievers you'd want to have if the game is close late. And on the flip side, if you're the Phillies, I'm going to guess Duran not available for the ninth inning because he's pitched the last two. I don't know. We'll see how they would approach that one. But even if he does come in, if you're the Nats, you feel like you got a chance against them. It's a pretty amazing thing to say. I don't know if there's any other team in baseball right now that would actually feel good about the sight of Yohan Duran coming in to face you in the ninth inning.
Well, if he pitches on Sunday off having pitched on Friday and Saturday, and the Nats have had his number, so you're facing, in theory, a diminished version of Duran. I mean, that is ripe for the taking if that ends up happening. So, yeah, Game 3, Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Jake Irvin, like Mitchell Parker, struggling big time lately. Parker done in by the big inning on Saturday evening. Jake Irvin knows a whole lot about being done in by big innings. It has happened way too often here lately. You know, it's funny, like I said with Parker, his outing began well, 3 scoreless and hitless innings. We talked on the last installment of the podcast of, you know, Parker, if he could just give the Nats a chance, just be halfway decent, you'll take that. He was doing that and then some, and then it unraveled. I think we would say the same thing about Irvin. No one's asking you to allow 1 run in 8 innings, although that would be wonderful. But if you could just give this team, I don't know, 2 runs in 5 innings even, something like that, at this point you would take that with how poorly things have been going for him lately.
I might even take 3 and 5, to be honest, at this point with him. The key is going to be keep the ball in the yard. He has given up a ton of home runs, and he's facing a Phillies lineup and in a ballpark that gives up a lot of home runs. And so that, to me, is the biggest challenge facing Jake Irvin. Don't think about the long-term, Jake. Go out there, give him 5, keep him in the game, and maybe in the second half of that game, the Nats lineup can put together some good at-bats. The Phillies bullpen has been used a lot here the last few nights, and maybe they can actually give themselves a chance to pull off what would be a pretty amazing series win after what they've already done over the last week. We talked about going into this stretch, 13 straight against the Phillies, the Mets, the Phillies again, and then the Yankees next. And I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't be shocked if they go like 3 and 10 on this stretch. Well, they're now 5 and 4. They have more than held their own. They've done a nice job and a chance at another series win on Sunday.
And then after this, and we're still not there yet, but after this does come what could be a manageable homestand. 3 games against the Tampa Bay Rays, 3 games against the Miami Marlins. Although we have said that kind of thing in the past, and the homestands have proven to not be so manageable. So perhaps we should not even entertain such thoughts. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. Hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Nats Chat is on the radio Sunday morning 9 to 10 on ESPN Richmond, which is 106.1 FM in the Richmond, Virginia area, and Sunday morning 9 to 10 on Priority Sports Radio 94.1 in the Virginia Beach area. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Blasted high in the air to right field toward the corner. Workman back onto the warning track, looks up at the fence, and it's gone. Clough homers down the right field line. It's a 1-run game again, 4-3 Toledo. 3rd home run of the homestand for Jackson Clough.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.